What's up, guys? I'm randomfrankp. My seasonal allergies are acting up today, so I'm kind of stuffy. Bear with me. But we're going to be reviewing the Wooting HE60 after 1 month of daily use. So this is my 1 month review, and I'm going to be telling you guys why I think this is, without a doubt, the best gaming keyboard on the market. So like I said, for my 1 month review, I've been using this as my daily keyboard for gaming and editing for the past 30 days. And today I'm going to run you through my particular setup and really just my overall thoughts on why I think it is the best keyboard out there. What this video will not be is a full dedicated review going over all the features and the ins and out, because this video would then be a half-hour long. And to be honest, there's a bunch of really great reviews out there already. So instead, we're going to touch on the main features that I think are most useful to the average gamer out there. And like I said, my setup and just why I think it's the best out there right now. First up, checking it out, we have it in this nice 60% layout. A few years ago, Wooting released a TKL version, but now the HE60 is packing a lot more tech despite the compact footprint. Now this is a standard tray mount keyboard, which means you can just pop out the plate and PCB and use this with a custom 60% board you may already have, or if you want to kind of dip your toes into the custom keyboard market in a way. But personally, I don't mind the case Wooting has here. It is all plastic, which is kind of a bummer, but in terms of just the design, I do like it. You have this angled lip on the bottom and pretty compact bezels all around. And something pretty unique to the keyboard space is this off-white like strap they have off the left side. This is optional, you can choose to just leave it off if you like, but the strap I think is just a nice visual aesthetic piece that makes it sort of stand out. I think the strap's pretty cool, which is why I have it on my unit. And I did reach out to Wooting, and that kind of hinted at a potential way in the future you could be able to possibly create your own custom strap through them. But for now, if you want to do that, make a strap to fit into your whole setup's theme, you can go on Etsy, probably find a seller or a shop making them for like, $10 around there. It's just a standard strap pretty much. But as you can tell though, I did swap out the stock PBT keycaps for these dark clear caps from Angry Meow. This is their Glacier keycap set. They also sell them like a clear see-through version, but I like the darker material here. And with the font and stuff and the colors, I just found it matches the black and yellow Wooting theme already. These keycaps feel great to type on. They allow for obvious RGB shine through, but also I went with these because it'll give you a good idea of the keystrokes with the Hall effect switches, and you'll be able to kind of see the actuation real time during B-roll with the RGB lighting effects. The stock keycap sets though are fine if you want to just go with those. They're a textured PBT set. The legends are all shine through as well. Nothing crazy, but like I said, since I'm not swapping the case or anything here, I figured the keycap set would just be a nice change up visually. Now underneath the caps are their new Lecker switches. These are exclusive to Wooting and are made in collaboration with Gateron. These are completely different than a traditional switch, and even though they may look similar, there are literally 0 components to this switch that are identical to a traditional mechanical switch. So that means there's no metal leaf or pins. They pop into the PCB with just these 2 plastic legs in the bottom of the switch. But that also means these are completely proprietary. You cannot use other switches with this board. These Leckers are linear with a 40-gram spring and have a travel distance from 4mm all the way down to 0.1mm. And since the Lecker switches are powered by the Hall effect magnetic sensors, there is a tiny magnet in the pole of each stem. That's what lets you really customize these switches in terms of the actuation distance, as well as the analog capabilities that I'll touch on. Now, I'll say the biggest selling point for this keyboard are the Lecker switches and the rapid trigger function. Rapid trigger is a feature that lets these Lecker switches actuate numerous times in a single full keystroke actuation. What I mean by that is, on a traditional key switch, you press the switch down, and depending on the actuation distance, let's just say 2mm, boom, that's it. The key's pressed, you need to switch to then reset before you can press it again to register as another keystroke. Here, since they're adjustable in steps of 0.1mm, you can press the key down any length, and the moment you begin to let the switch start to pop back up and reset, you can continue to again press down 0.1mm and it'll register as another keystroke. No bottoming out needed. You can make these actuate numerous times along the actuation range. Now, I'm hearing myself, and I feel like I'm doing a poor job of explaining to you what all that means. It is difficult to fully portray how this is working, but there is a lighting effect where the green is portraying a press and actuation, and then when it's red, it's showing the reset. So that'll visually give you a better idea. You can literally press down, let's just say all 4mm, right? And then every 0.1mm reset on the way up, you can actuate it again, allowing you to pull off these numerous actions within that 4mm distance. So do the math. If there's a 4mm to 0.1mm range, that's 39 individual strokes capable per key, all within one full bottom out movement. Insane. This is all capable on a per key basis as well. So you could set your WAs if you want them to be like super light. You can set them to actuate at 1mm or less, and now have this literal instantaneous micro movements with absolute precision per key, which is just ideal for in-game strafing, for example. Optimum Tech had a great example in his review where he showcased these extreme movements in Apex, where you can do things like air strafing, where you're doing these like circular jumps, which with the Wooting 60, it makes just so much easier to pull off. Then he showcased super gliding, which again is a movement all about timing. You can just pull off now so much easier with this faster, more precise keyboard, since these inputs are just faster with rapid trigger. So depending on what your main game is that you play, right? If movement is vital to your performance, you know, like FPS games or rhythm games like Osu, for example, this will 100% give you that competitive edge. Now, in terms of like actual modifications other than the keycap set swap, I'll tell you right now, I did very little. There is a layer of foam inside the board underneath the PCB, which is nice and thick for the most part. It's gonna cut down on some of the potential resonance inside the frame since it is primarily plastic. There's also a foam layer sandwiched between the aluminum plate and the PCB. And I didn't lube the switches because stock, they do sound very, very good. You'll hear that in just a minute. But there was also a very, very light sheen of lube that I saw on the stem already. Now, I don't know if this is from the spring maybe or what, because none of the other reviews out there mentioned these being factory lube switches. On the other hand, the stabilizers are definitely factory lubed. You can tell by the generous amount of lube there on each of the bars, but we'll do a sound test now. So really not too bad sounding at all. And with these lacquer switches being linear, they do feel nice and smooth. Is it gonna touch some of the real custom switches out there on a custom mechanical keyboard? No, not really, but honestly, I have no issues with the way this feels and sounds. So there are some other features to touch on real quick. One is their mod tap, which lets two different actions be assigned to one key. So you hold the key down for the first action or tap the key for the second action. This lets you do things like use dedicated arrow keys on the bottom right side of the board. Since there are no physical arrow keys, the cluster here can act as those with a tap, then holding the key down will just instead be the original function. Translating this to an in-game scenario, you can set it to do things like holding down W to walk, and then tapping W to run, both with just the one W key, so you could free up the shift or whatever you want the dedicated run key to be in-game and assign that to be something else. Just a little example there for you. This keyboard is also cool for things like analog inputs, which essentially is like emulating a controller input. Now this isn't new, this was one of the features when I first reviewed the Wooting 1 back in like 2018, I think it was. But this analog mode is great for open world games, I'd say, like GTA, where you're on foot, or you're driving around, or flying in a helicopter, something that where you can really just take advantage of the really 360-degree analog movement for those games in different scenarios. Then they have this Tachyon Mode. And that takes the current input delay of around 2 milliseconds down to 1 millisecond. So for like competitive gaming, this is definitely gonna be useful. It does disable all RGB, and you can't use a custom coil cable, for example, due to the length and the speed this is now capable of. You will have to use a stock USB-C cable instead. So if you need that pure speed with the 1 millisecond response time, you have that. If you want the dual functions, you got mod tap. And analog functionality is cool, sure, but personally for me, I don't ever use it. I feel like if I need analog, I'll just use a controller, which I'm much more familiar with in game. However, just the major selling point here are the lacquer switches and that full rapid trigger capability. Hands down, fingers down. Once you get used to this and you set which actuation you want each key to be, again, it's all per key. So you can have your WAS keys be a certain distance. Keys you don't want to accidentally press, you can set to be 4 millimeters, so you have to fully bottom one out for it actuates. The ability to now just have that rapid trigger with the 0.1 millimeter actuation distance really sets this keyboard apart from, I think, any other keyboard on the market, because there is not a single keyboard out there that exists that has those functions and that actuation capability. Again, I mainly play FPS games. The whole Battlefield series is sort of my go-to. And just now to have this very controlled strafe capability, especially like when I'm sniping and stuff, if I'm like going quickly, behind cover, it's also gonna greatly help control spray and stuff in certain games. It is just unreal how fast this keyboard is. It is one of those things where you're definitely gonna have to get used to it at first. And then once you do, there's no going back. And I'm sure to you, yeah, all this sounds great, but until you actually use it and you can see how quick this is and feels firsthand for yourself, like you really won't have a good idea of how quick this is until you get it. And I didn't even get to the icing on the cake yet. Now with all the features and the RGB and the actuation distance, that obviously all deals with software, right? However, there is no software that needs to be installed. They actually have their utility software, but what's really cool is you can access it all through a Chrome browser because it's web-based. Every single thing from this keyboard can be assigned and customized all through their Utility.io website. So you don't have to download anything physically onto your PC. In here, you can create unlimited profiles, set certain profiles for certain games you heavily play. There's also an extensive community-based marketplace where people share their own user-made profiles that you can all download for free. You can then also configure the RGB here as well. So to round this one out real quick, I'll show you some of the effects real time, just so you can get an idea of how they look, especially since here we had the completely transparent keycaps on. There are a bunch of really cool pressure-based effects, meaning it uses the RGB to visually show you the Leica actuation in real time. And for me, I usually keep the brightness down to around 25%, since with these keycaps, it can obviously get a bit blinding at times, but then have the pressure brightness higher up. So like I said, it'll give you just a better idea visually of your actuation and your inputs. I'm really digging the AOE effect they have, but there's 12 total to pick from here. Very, very customizable. So after 1 month of continued use, like I said in the beginning, this is hands down the best gaming keyboard out there. Really not only for 2022, but I think on the entire gaming keyboard market, since this just does so many advanced things that other keyboards have not yet done. And you gotta give it to Wooting here. What they're pulling off is really remarkable. It's combining just customization in terms of the 0.1mm actuation distance with the rapid trigger. It's pure speed, pure customization, which really any gamer I think can appreciate. And also, it's $175, which at first you may be like, whoa, but that's not bad at all, considering all the tech crammed into this, considering the current keyboard market space where companies are charging like $250 and up. I think $175 for this, again, factoring in the tech, the speed, the customization, the switches, is a steal. And this will give you a competitive edge in whatever you're playing. There's not a lot of things that I get in that I review that I can, say that with, but this is one of those things that will just give you a better performance in game. It's all about control. They literally tell you right there on the strap. So man, Wooting, big props to you with the gaming keyboard of the year. I know it's only August, but it is what it is. And guys, that'll wrap it up for the Wooting 60HE. Hope you all enjoyed. If you want to check it out, I'll have a link for you in the description down below. If you liked my 1 month review, give it a big thumbs up, show your support. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at randomfrankp. And last, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hope you all enjoyed. Have a good day.